the Rascals. He hit a neck breaker on TJ Perkins, who at the same time DDP'd Jake Chris.
Yeah, that was it.
Who had Willie Mack in an Indian Deathlock at the same time.
That was a fun spot.
The next spot, which actually I think is what you're talking about, Pasty. I don't think this was it, but maybe. So what happened was they set up a Tower of Doom. And if people don't know what a Tower of Doom is, it's one person goes up to the top to start doing a superplex. Then two guys get below him, like they're going to powerbomb that guy to do a superplex. Then usually another guy gets into it. It's just a whole giant superplex domino Jenga thing. But anyways, Trey Miguel flipped out of the Tower of Doom, but then TJP put him in a surfboard. So TJP's on his back, Trey Miguel is up, stretched out, making a square, folks, if you don't know what the Mexican surfboard is. Anyways, Jake Christ then jumped on TJP, who's on the ground, to make the pin. Willie Mack jumped off the top rope, double foot stomped all three of them to break up the pin. That is something I don't think I've seen before. And the fact that they did it without legitimately hurting anybody was all Willie. All Willie right there. You got to give the Mack credit for that one.
Yes, indeed. No, their big spots in this match were fluid and flawless and just awe-inspiring.
And the end came up when Willie Mack picked up the win by Jake Chris nailing a top rope cutter onto Trey. And then Mack hit the frog splash on Trey and got the pin.
Yes.
So it was kind of cool. Man, this was just, like you said, this might not have been the best match ever, but there was like no mistakes.
No, and for an opening match, it was straight fire.
Oh, you would have thought on a lot of other pay-per-views this would have overshadowed the whole show.
It didn't.
It didn't. What do we have next, Pasty?
Next, we have a three-way tag match with the North. That's Ethan Page and Josh Alexander defeating LAX and the Rascals, Desmond Xavier and Zachary Wentz.
Basically, this match, the North stole it for me.
Yeah.
If you were not impressed with how they looked, you had to be impressed with how these. I want to see the North and the Revival head to head.
That would be brilliant.
Oh.
They came out, and I still say they don't represent me. But by the end of the match, I was still gritting my teeth and saying they don't represent me. But then I heard that it was LAX final match in Impact, potentially, and it all made sense.
Notes I have here. Josh Alexander of the North, he was on the top rope, and he hit what I can only describe as a moonsault fall-away slam.
Didn't this match have a wicked Canadian Destroyer off the top rope type thing?
Oh, God, yes. One of these matches did, and I don't know that I have it written down. Probably because I was marking out and didn't write it down.
My brain says it's this match. I'm hoping
I think you're right. I don't have it written down, but that sounds super familiar, the Canadian Destroyer off the top rope. I know one of these did.
Somebody did a top rope Styles Clash, too, which was really sick.
Yes. I also got that Ethan Page, the powerbomb onto, I believe it was Zachary Wentz to break up the pin. I thought was really cool. Of note here, Santana got taken away on a stretcher. This is a work, as Pasty said, this may or may not be the last match of LAX in Impact, so for anybody wondering, no, he wasn't legitimately hurt, even though they sold it really well. Like,
yes,
they didn't play it too hard as a gimmick. They just kind of took him away and just played it off as that was it, you know. Whereas I feel like WWE would have like constantly followed him, and the announcers would have constantly been talking about it. We'll check in on him and we'll give you an update. Like they didn't. It was almost like, oh, he's injured. Oh, they're getting him out, and then they didn't talk about him the rest of the match. Basically, this was a great match.
It was a really strong piece of tag team action in a company that isn't necessarily known for that so much. I mean, yeah,
not anymore.
LAX has done a lot of great things for their tag team division, but the Rascals and the North really shined out here. in ways that they needed to. Because I may still be begrudgingly saying the North doesn't represent me, but they have my respect. There's some big bad dudes, and you don't want to fuck with them.
And if LAX is leaving, this is the way a lot of wrestlers leave, is by putting the younger up-and-coming guys over. And if they are leaving, that's the way to do it. They put both these guys. I think the North super shined in this one.
LAX and AEW, please.
AEX or LAX anywhere is gonna rock, even in WWE. Maybe not as good as we want them to rock, but even there they'll do just fine.
Well, now that Heavy Machinery is starting to get some airtime on Raw and SmackDown, they're getting over. So I mean,
right?
Yeah.
And then we had a First Blood match, Pasty.
Yeah, we did. Eddie Edwards versus Killer Cross, with Eddie Edwards taking the win. This was a really good match. I'm pretty keen on Eddie Edwards after his match with ECW famous. I always forget his fucking name because I'm an idiot.
Oh, Tommy Dreamer.
Yeah, Dreamer, that guy. I sleep on him. No. But, yeah, came out with the kendo stick. Killer Cross really stood out to me in this match. From the fucking satanic face paint and the priest garb in the beginning, he sold that heel angle so hard. I loved it.
I put in my notes, Pasty, I don't know if it's the paint or what, but this is my favorite Cross match to date.
Yep.
And I've said I'm not a huge fan of Killer Cross,
smiles
but damn.
from him in that paint, just keep that fucking paint, Cross.
This was good. I gotta point out there was a gut wrench suplex from Killer Cross to Eddie Edwards from the apron onto chairs that were lying on the floor.
Yeah.
That was like, holy shit.
He also powerbombed him onto the apron like halfway down his back.
Yes. And
I felt that when that happened.
The ending, I dug, Pacey. I liked
it.
This
It was
ending.
a good use of a blood pack, which you don't normally see anymore.
Yep, obvious blood pack, but done in a way that was like theatrical, right?
Yes.
So basically, what happened was Eddie Edwards took the kendo stick, which he had been whooping the shit out of Cross with.
I told him in the beginning of the match, you're not going to make him bleed with that fucking thing.
Right? So what he did was he broke it over his knee, and he took the sharp shards of it and started stabbing Cross in the head.
In the mouth.
And in the face. And in the mouth. And as he was doing that, Cross started throwing up blood, spitting up blood. Again, obvious blood packet,
yes,
but it worked in this scenario, I think. And not only that, but they eliminated the risk of will he accidentally bleed now? What if this is when he's supposed to bleed, but he doesn't actually bleed? They perfectly timed it. And yeah, I'm not a big fan of blood packets, but it just seemed to really work in this match.
Fuck, when Cross was running at Edwards outside the ring and Edwards threw the chair at his head, I thought that they could have had a finish right there.
It could have accidentally had a finish right there.
Right. Those First Blood matches, that's hard to pull off, because if somebody bleeds early, that you fuck your whole match.
Yeah.
I like that spot, though, where Edwards was covering his head and not showing the referee, or no, it was Cross.
Cross was completely blocking it.
Yeah, trying to make sure he wasn't bleeding before anybody else could see. Good stuff.
You're not going to see it. You're not going to see it, which is smart. That's psychology.
I wish they would have said something about the paint being a thing. Like if he gets busted open, you might not be able to tell if it's just a little bit because of the paint. They should have pointed that out more for the psychology of the match. But
I would agree with that.
I was living in it.
Then we had Moose versus Rob Van Dam.
Yeah. And Moose killed Rob.
The biggest takeaway here that I have very little notes on this one, but the biggest takeaway I have here, Pasty, is when an RVD match is the least best match on the card, you know the show was badass.
Yeah. Yep.
And this was
probably one of the first matches I wasn't very much paying attention to, but
yeah,
as we discussed last week, I'm not so keen. I get Rob Van Dam. He doesn't need to win, and he didn't win, so he gets points in my book.
Yeah,
Moose is on this spree of destroying ex-ECW guys, and that's something we'll talk about a little bit later that I think is going to tie into that in the near future.
Exactly. The end came, Pasty, when Moose went for a frog splash to try to rub it into Van Dam's face. He missed. Rob Van Dam hit a DDT, only got a 2. Moose ended up hitting a low blow as the referee was distracted. RVD came back, missed a 5-star frog splash, and hit a chair that was brought in.
I love that Rob Van Dam schooled Moose on how to use a chair legally in a match.
Right.
I might be sick of Rob Van Dam from time to time, but anytime you see him with that chair art, his chair art is on point always.
It is.
From the concerto to the fucking pulling it in front of the DDT so he could slam him down on it, just good shit.
And to me, this was the worst match of the pay-per-view, but worst is least best. Like I said before, it wasn't the worst.
Right.
I would
still give this a B+ match probably. This
would be a good match on a WWE pay-per-view. Mm-hmm. Which, talking about things we'll never see on a WWE pay-per-view, Pasty, what's up next?
The 4-Way Monsters Ball featuring Taya Valkyrie, who defeated Jessica Havoc, Rosemary, and Su Yung.
I'm banking on this for match of the fucking year, Pasty.
Me too. Me too. Fuck. Man, they pulled out the thumbtacks and did shit that made all male wrestlers, especially Jon Moxley and Joey Janela, look like straight-up pussies.
Pasty, how often do you see a staple gun in a woman's match?
Yeah, I don't think there was staples in it.
It was gimmicked. It was gimmicked, but they usually are, other than CZW. CZW puts legit ones, but it was gimmicked. But we had Taya stapling an 8x10 onto Su Young's forehead. Which
fell off seconds later, but I still appreciate the maneuver.
You know, ticky-tack only works so well, Pasty. But that's something that WWE's not going to do. No. That's something that AEW is not going to do, at least on their weekly show.
Right.
We got a Tree of Woe with a chair from Havoc to Taya. That was awesome. Rosemary superplexed Su Yung to a table on the outside of the ring, which brought on not only the "This is awesome" chants, which it deserved, but you could audibly hear one guy yelling, "Yowie wowie," which I marked out for. Yeah. I was like, that's cool. That's cool shit. I literally put in my notes, and now thumbtacks.
Yeah.
That's what I put in my notes.
When they did
Pasty, tell me what happened next, which was so awesome.
Oh, what one was even first? Was it the face first into the thumbtacks?
The face one was first.
Now, me and Kirsten both screamed at the top of our fucking lungs when that shit happened. And she doesn't even watch wrestling hardly anymore.
What happened?
It was, it was all so fast.
Taya Valkyrie grabbed Rosemary.
It was like a wheelbarrow, wasn't it? With the legs and then lifting the torso and slamming her face first.
See, you know what it is. Why do you have me say it?
Yeah, well, I'm trying.
That's exactly what it was. It was a wheelbarrow face first into the tacks from Taya Valkyrie.
And there was hard impact. Hard impact. Rosemary's a badass bitch.
Oh,
they're all badass bitches. I didn't know Taya Valkyrie was Latina.
Really?
Yeah.
Dude, she's from Mexico.
Well, she doesn't look it.
Have you, Basie?
What?
Folks, I apologize because I don't like to objectify female wrestlers. Have you looked at her bottom?
I mean, yeah.
She is Latina thick, baby, and I'm talking THICC. That is no fucking white cunt. I'm sorry. No offense to white cunts. I mean, I love Rosemary, but yeah, she's definitely Latina.
I also
Where did that come from? Did they bring that up in commentary?
No, but she was like screaming in Spanish a whole lot, and I was like, "Whoa, what?
Okay,
whoa." Okay. I guess it makes sense. Johnny Impact, with Melina back in the day, and
he's got a type.
Yeah.
I didn't even think of that. And the end came, folks, when Jessica Havoc.
Of course, the type isn't Latina women. The type is women who wear furry leggings.
Exactly.
Let's not get racial here.
That's him also. Right. So, I guess masturbation. The end came when Jessica Havoc hit a super tombstone to Rosemary into the tacks, but
Rosemary took all the tacks?
Rosemary was fucking a beast in this one.
Yeah, she was.
But then Taya jumped in and actually stole the win from her to fucking keep the title. Oh my God, it was awesome. It's a perfect way for Taya to stay strong, and it put over Rosemary. It put over